today morning and interacting with more than 120 young minds. Can you see my slides?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. And today morning, and I would like to bring a kind of deepen your thinking on the challenges that is ASEAN as a region is facing. What are the common resilience challenges? What could be the role of and the responsibility of the cities in solving the challenges, the regional challenges? And third one is how the engineers, you can provide the solutions. Basically, how that engineering could be in the driver seat in providing the solutions that can be applicable to the cities and also the national levels. If you think about the ASEAN, this is ASEAN 10 countries. We do have a multiple and these interlinked challenges. When we think about the resilience, and this resilience is a kind of developing a system response for a common challenges or the common shocks that is we can see as we see in the COVID. And also we have seen the water cycle that has been implicated or the influenced by these climate risk or the disaster risk. And another challenge that is as a region we have is our economic structure is changing. The production structure basically is changing over the last 30 years. And we produce more industrial waste and also the solid waste that is coming from the mostly from the cities. And we have that estimation that is by 2050 or the climate change will expected to have an most effect on the economics and as well as the livelihood of the people. I think most percent, nearly 60% of the people are living in the cities. And this region is also biodiversity and the second richest, but it is also losing it very rapidly. That is related to, we need to find a solutions from the ocean engineering perspectives, how we can preserve this perspective, and also the deforestation. That is, we are losing our natural resources. So where this is the demand is mostly coming from the city areas. So these are the multiple challenges, and some challenges are interlinked, and some need very specified solutions. If you look into that is ASEAN 2040, and if we grow at the same rate and we behave as we are doing now, it will be the picture. And now we are 600 million people, and we will be having more than nearly 800 million people, and that energy demand will be increasing. But we'll be becoming more prosperous. And I think that prosperity also have an example, this energy consumption will be increasing if we are looking at this more prosperity. So another thing is the whole focus of today's discussion is resilient infrastructure. What that means is we need to build a structure, we need to build an infrastructure that has to withstand the current shocks and as well as the future shocks. And for example, look at most of the countries are in the top 10, and it is a global level change that has been taking place. And out of 150 countries, the Southeast Asia, that is the ASEAN countries, 7 countries, you can find it in the climate risk. That means you will be absorbing more risk, and if no action is taken, or we are not prepared for it. Second thing is the material footprint per capita has been increasing. If you see the figures between 2000 and 2017, and if you find a kind of quite maybe it is doubled more than twice, and during this failed to provide in some countries. We also failed to provide the necessary infrastructure to provide this safe water, quality water, and also this stable environment.
Seems like Dr. Venkatachalam.
So then, if you look at challenges, but if you look for the there is a rapid, yes, and the population in cities is expected to grow 3.6 billion, and this will have a significant expansion of these existing cities as well as the construction of the new cities. That is the kind of second-tier cities. So this is what this share of this country's population in at the ASEAN level, and we see that is the population in the 2030, it will be more than 70 million people will be living in the urban areas, from 51 to 56 million. So this is the cities will be bearing this pressure from this increased population. So here also, that is, if you see, that is the we are looking at the first tier cities, and also we do have second tier cities and the third tier cities. If you combine together these mega regions could be defined as the population it is more than 5 million, and also large second tier cities which consider about 1 to 5 million. If we combine together, and we see there is the share of the GDP, the contributions of the economic activities, industrial activities, will be nearly more than 67% in this region. So from the economic point of view and from the population point of view, this cities has become a kind of a weight and for the sustainability solutions. And here this is the challenges, and if you think about the future of the cities in the 2040, where you will be see that is the more use of resources, that is the energy resources, water resources, and the waste management, we see that is the long-term historic sprawl of the ASEAN cities can be witnessed. And here it will threaten the urban land use, and as well as the food supplies, it will be affected. So these problems are interlinked, or we can say there is a nexus between the sustainability challenges and also the resilience challenges. Resilience means we need to provide the cities that need to absorb the future shocks, and also we need to provide, we need to design the cities that provide the sustainability solutions. How it can be done? I think here the population in these cities, if you see on the right-hand side, you can see that is the population is increasing. For example, Jakarta. Basically, Jakarta is still it is a growing city where it has contributed the carbon footprint of about 100 megatons per carbon dioxide. But if the current projection rate, and it will be really doubled in the 2040. So what could be the solutions? And this solution has to be tied with this social inclusion. And here, this sustainability cities, when we think about the resilience, one aspect that is we need to consider is this inequality. Inequality in the major cities like Jakarta and the Bangkok and Manila. Here it is an example. This is one of these indicators to measure this inequality, the Gini coefficient. If it is a Gini coefficient is one, I think we see the kind of homogeneity. But here, most of the cities where this inequality between the rich and poor, and this provision of the infrastructure, the service efficiency has been declining. And on the other hand, we also, the cities, by promoting this or encouraging the migration, and we find that cities also provide the solutions for the urban poverty. And some countries like China has been very successful in Beijing and Shanghai, and basically by migrating and the provision of these infrastructure provisions, we find that the cities could also be a solution for the poverty reduction. So one side it is reducing the poverty, is reducing, and another side that inequality is decreasing because of this inefficient service provision, which has been attributed to the lack of water and the lack of energy and the waste management challenges. So what would be the solutions? And here the sustainable development goals of, I think Ibu Mulyani also mentioned about this, how this smart city or how this MRT could contribute for the achieving the sustainable development goals. And here the SDG 11, basically that is focused on the sustainable cities and the communities. So there are about 17 goals and with the different indicators, but one of the focus areas is the sustainable cities. So here, if you think about the cities is a kind of intersection between the global challenges, global sustainability and the resilience challenges we are facing. And also, it is a kind of a solution. I think most of the solutions will be coming from the cities. We can say, take the case of climate change. As I told before, these cities produce nearly 60% carbon emissions. So the battle for the climate change will be won, or it will be lost based on the cities. And the other challenges of the cities also include the traffic congestion and also affordable housing. And this is the smart infrastructure or the smart built environment. And also the crime and the security is also vulnerable. These are the challenges we are having at the cities. These are the common global challenges, common regional challenges in the ASEAN cities. So what could be the solution? And here we introduce the concept of the smart city. Smart city is nothing but the application of these ICT, information technologies, communication technologies, and the data management, which is aligned with the conventional infrastructure, services, energy services, and the waste management and the transport services. So if you provide under this smart city concept is very important to manage the future of the cities and also to support and drive the economic growth and the competitiveness of the cities to bring the social cohesion and the environmental sustainability. So with this concept and in the ASEAN and 2018, they developed the smart city network. ASEAN Smart City Network is established in 2018, where at present about 29 cities has been signed as a kind of pilot cities. So in Jakarta, in Indonesia, we do have Jakarta and Makassar and Banyuwangi. These are the cities that have been signed into ASEAN Smart City Network. In 26 cities, there is another 5 cities has been already signed into this new framework. But what these cities are looking for is, it is not a kind of a business as usual scenario. Here, they wanted to address this climate change mitigation, disaster management, and the circularity, and resource efficiency, and innovation type of issues through the smart solutions. By applying these smart solutions, they also look for the local economic development, the new business opportunities that comes with this, and also creative expression of the context of the simultaneous urbanization of the migrants who are usually very young. And also there is an aging population that exists in these cities. So what the smart city aims is to identify the DNA of a city and bring the new emerging technologies. These are these engineering solutions to provide the classical problems of service provision. That is the definition of or the purpose of smart cities. And here the ASEAN the smart city initiatives comes as a paradigm, as a kind of a progressive paradigm shift. Basically, in 1980s or the 1990s, ASEAN has the sustainable city framework. Basically, it is looking for the kind of a green cities to solve the first generation problems, like air pollution and the water pollution. And then in the 1990s, we do have the low carbon city program, and where several cities in ASEAN come to a network where they wanted to increase that energy efficiency and they reduce the solutions. And this has happened in the 1990s and the 2000s. 2018, I think Singapore has that initiative, which has been advanced in introduction of the technologies, and we do have that smart city program. So you can see that is the traditional progressive improvement in towards the resilient and enhanced service provision with the application of the technologies. So how this also kind of a part of a global movement for improving the quality and the availability of the governance services, particularly the application of this IoT. And here you can see that is there is an indicator for the UN e-governance development index. That is how the countries are applying the digital technologies in governing these or developing the new solutions for the service delivery. And here we find except 2 countries, and most of the countries are increasingly progressive in application of this e-governance framework. So there is a global trend and there is a regional trend of smart cities when they combine together, and we do have a framework for smart cities. So in ASEAN, smart cities are progressively integrating the digital technologies into the public services. And here on the right-hand side, you see there is what type of city-level actions are taken by the ASEAN cities. And here are the major cities. And for example, Jakarta has a smart city vision and the smart city roadmap, which basically aims for a more transparent and livable cities, and which process and complements the governance system that is basically addressing the social issues. Here, if you see that these other cities, for example, Kuala Lumpur, the priorities of the cities are different, but their common ambition is to improving the living standards of the peoples and also bring the service delivery. And in Kuala Lumpur, and it is as the partner with the IBM to provide these technological solutions. And in Yangon, in Myanmar, they introduced a digital payment system among the citizens and as well as the governments. And in the case of Singapore, basically, they developed a national digital identity and the e-payments and the smart urban mobility, where they have been monitoring the vehicle fleet. They optimize these travel distances, and also they developed a smart national platform. But in all these things, you can see what is the commonality is the introduction of the technologies that is aligned with these developmental needs and also improving the standards of the people. But it is built upon a kind of a public-private partnership where the private companies, the information and the communication technology companies and the data providers and the local city governments comes together and providing the common and sustainable solutions. You can look into this this website and see that is how these ASEAN Smart City Networks visions and their action plans are. Basically, ASEAN Smart Cities look for 5 dimensions, or maybe we can say that is if you include the economy, there is also 6 dimensions, where they are aiming for the smart living and the smart people and the smart environment, smart mobility, and the smart governance. These are the 6 dimensions that has been aligned with service, improving the service delivery that focus on the renewable energy, waste management, and the water management. But if you look into these drivers and how each smart city is defined, we do have a wider variety of definitions, and as well as operational definitions. And here we have the technical definitions. Since most of you are engineers, and you can look into these definitions. And these are here we find a definition of engineering applications, particularly ICT-based solutions, on the basis of the multi-stakeholder and municipality-based partnership. And one of these very living definition for the smart city is made by the Singapore minister, who is in charge of the smart city platform, which is smart city is not about the not only about the technology, but it is really about how we apply these ICT technologies to enhance the quality of life, to create better opportunities for everyone to prosper. That is the kind of ASEAN smart city definition, which has been agreed by the 10 member countries. But if you look into this, what each city has been aiming for, the smart city. And here we had a research, we dig into that is what smart city mission and the roadmap exist. And most of the cities, including the Jakarta, is aim for the smart government. And second comes this ICT and the big data. And third one is the smart and the environment, where there is the sustainability and the resilience goals are here, combined together. So basically, a smart city is application type is basically improving this smart governance and also providing this service delivery to their citizens. This is a kind of a common framework. There is a smart architecture, which is built upon the 4 pillars. One is the capturing this data using this sensory systems. Second thing is the network layer, and where data has been transmitted to this sensor data has been transmitted to these data centers, and they are integrated, and then they have been analyzed. The final one is that is the application layer, where this data and the analysis has been intelligently analyzed to provide the solutions. For example, disaster management and health monitoring, supply chain management, energy efficiency, and the security management, and the traffic and transportation. So here it is a combination of 4 action areas that has been integrated into, this has kind of big data analytics, and the smart city as a service provider or increase the service horizontal layers of the platforms that has been integrated the 4 objective functions of this smart city. And in Japan, Takamatsu has used a technological platform to increase their resiliency. And this Takamatsu city is a coastal city. It is subjected to frequent typhoons. And here they created a platform where this user information, the location information, and the GPS tracking system has been integrated together. And new sensor systems has been built to integrate, to develop the new data systems, and they're translated into intelligence decision-making systems. By combining together, and they could be able to build this resilient system where the economic damage has been reduced by 12%. Before this introduction of the smart city dashboard system. And here, providers as well as the beneficiaries of these services, the data alert systems, and also information sharing systems. So what the smart city is the instrumentation.
I think we're losing him. Sir, can you hear us? Dr. Venkatachalam? I think we're losing you. We lose you before. We lost you. Okay, I think we're losing him again. We're losing Dr. Venkatachalam again. While we're waiting for Dr. Venkatachalam to go back to the room, let's move on to, he's here. You're still muted, sir?
Can you? Professor, sorry for the disturbance.
Yeah, that's
Hello?
okay. Hello, yes, we can hear you.
Can you?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
just I'll. So this is a kind of a basic data and the intelligence system that is we are looking for the smart cities, and which basically aim to increase the efficiency and the innovation and the inclusion. And this is a kind of a common IoT architecture that is the plan. And here it is a combination of integrating that information technologies and the communication technologies and the data storage management system.
Sir, excuse me. Sorry, but
And that has been
we cannot see
interlinked
your...
with this built environment. And
Okay, I think he's freezing.
Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, I can hear you, but you're freezing and we cannot see your PowerPoint slide.
Hello.
Hello, yes. We cannot hear you properly because maybe the connection problem.
Yes, yes, I think we have some connectivity problem.
Maybe it helps to turn off the camera.
Maybe I'll continue and I'm making effort to connect it to visually and okay. Can you see now?
Yes, we can
Hello?
see. Yes. Yes, we can see it
Okay.
perfectly.
Okay, thank you. And this is a kind of a common minimum IoT architecture for a model smart city, where this information technology and the communication technology and the data storage management are built, and they're integrated with this city's social infrastructure that includes the integration and the interaction between the social infrastructure as well as the digital infrastructure. But on the other hand, policy challenges, and where we need to develop this social infrastructure and the data structure, and where we have not have a regulatory environment, and by integrating the different segments and of social infrastructure and the digital infrastructure. So it involves a kind of a new type of a partnership between the social infrastructure disciplines at the sectors within the city, as well as the digital platform providers and the communities and the citizens who will be contributing also for the smart city development. And here we do find and the several components of the smart cities, and the components could be based on the development of distributed generation system, the data resources, and the communication systems, as well as developing the new specifications of the key performance indicators for the energy efficiency improvement, or the social inclusion, or the reliability of the sustainability improvement. So here we need to develop a kind of key performance indicators, but these performance indicators could be linked into a different technological transformation. And here we find that basically there are 4+1 domain. And this +1 domain is expanding the technological framework to end-to-end smart city solutions that include these finding the technological enablers and the connectivity and the communication infrastructure development that provide different engineering solutions for the mobility sector. For example, intelligent traffic signals and the smart parking or the car sharing. And on the west side, we do have digital tracking of the payment of the waste disposal sites, and also this building the automation systems in the energy sector and the water consumption taxes. And here, this is one of the classical examples in Singapore, and here we find this introduction and of digital technologies, and the will bring multiple benefits. For example, it has reduced this energy and the water consumption by 3% to 11%. Users are notified, they informing how much water and the energy is used within a day. I think it comes through this integration of these different technologies, and also basically it saved service cost of about 73 million, and also that reduced, you know, that is Singapore here, they contributed for grey water recycling and the rainwater harvesting, basically. So this is a system efficiency has been improved. And here also we found at the regional level, and for example, in Indonesia, this ride-hailing companies like Gojek, and where this is the and the consumer has integrated. And in Malaysia, this Grab has acquired, and now it provided about 2.5 million rides. And in Singapore, this integration of the digital technologies has basically the alleviated the traffic problems. If you combine together, and we estimated, and about 4 to 7% of reduced the energy consumption, and could be achieved at the city level, which has been translated into 70% of reduced the greenhouse emissions. But more important, as Ibu Maulina also mentioned, is what are the new economic opportunities, the new revenue streams for the cities and also the business sector. We find about more than 50% of these new revenue streams, new business opportunities has been created by making these smart technologies sustainable and a synergetic way. So here for the engineers, and here we need to understand, and when we are thinking about the 2040 and the smart city movement, and it brings operational focus is basically how we are going to solve the sustainability and the resilience solutions by integrating this ICT and other social infrastructure. But this smart city movement could be considered as a kind of need to serve the political goal. And basically in ASEAN, we do exist two streams. One is the ASEAN Economic Community Blueprint, and then ASEAN Socio-Cultural Blueprint. Basically, they aim for the resilient and the sustainable ASEAN. So the headline start for the smart city is the smart city solutions are highly transferable. Basically, the countries need to learn from each other and also to provide the multiple solutions. Here we find the smart city create a platform for integrated infrastructure planning and the business model and the common data standards. And the challenge here is how we can formulate a regional action plan for the key technological barriers. As we need, the cities have the problems of access to the technologies, and these engineering solutions are more site-specific. And also they need to find these financial models. So how we can integrate these three things, transforming the technological or the engineering solutions into a business model, and the business models are getting financed. This is where there is most of the bottlenecks resides. And to solve this bottlenecks, we need to develop a performance indicators. And this performance is a kind of a key performance indicators to evaluate the smart city initiatives and also how these countries are progressing in the multiple fronts by introduction of ICT technologies that are married to the social infrastructure. And here we find that basically there are 8 parameters that input the human capital, social cohesion, economic, environment, and mobility. And more important is that is the smart technologies and the innovative finance systems. Here you can see that is how the countries are how the cities are performing. This is the rating by UN Cities Movement, and here we find some regional cities are very advanced, and but the city that is coming at the top is the London, and followed by the New York and Amsterdam. And these cities has a long and a strong plan to integrate these different engineering solutions with the financing solutions. So this is my last slide, and what are the some kind of take-home messages that is we can have today. One is the challenges for the ASEAN and in building a resilient and sustainable societies are multiple, and it is a complex. And here we have a clear vision, like for example, ASEAN 2025 blueprint, and also SDGs. These are the national commitments by 2030, and the Paris Agreement. So these are the kind of a macro and the political will that has been accepted by the national governments. And we have a strong will to have a sustainable and resilient society by 2040. However, the success of the current approaches face many challenges. The challenges could be classified into technological challenges, and the business challenges, and the financial challenges. Given these challenges, and the smart city offer a promising opportunity. Basically, the smart city could be a defining characteristic of a resilient ASEAN, and which basically focuses on developing these data architecture, and then introduction of this information and the communication technologies, and coupling with the social infrastructure development for the improved water, energy, transport, and waste management practices. Here, we need to think, you are the engineers, and you need to think that is how this engineering disciplinary abstractions could be coupled with this other policy-making process of economics of these smart cities, and as well as the macro framework conditions that can bring the sustainable solutions. And here, the third point I would like to make is ASEAN smart city models are emerging, but they need to capitalize the both the technological advancement, which the whole world is moving very fast. The ASEAN cities need to also keep in pace with these challenges, and then digital intelligence and the development of the knowledge and the key performance indicators, where we need to have a kind of a multidisciplinary thinking to provide the solutions. So the start with is these development of the key performance indicators for the cities like Bandung and Jakarta, and that has been built based upon the DNA of the cities. So I stop here, and if you wanted to know more about our ERIA's works, and we are having an ongoing project on the smart cities, you can visit our website, or you can write to me to this email. Thank you very much.